we have a later sunrise from this perspective. Took me a little bit by surprise, that fact. And there you see Mount Arbel and the horns of Hittim. And underneath the cliffs of Mount Arbel, there in the center of the screen, we have Magdala, just for orientation purposes. And up here we have the Mount of Beatitudes, from a very different angle. We're looking east to the Mount of Beatitudes. And here we're waiting for the sun to rise any minute, and we're at Capernaum. Today's gospel says Jesus came to Capernaum, or Capernaum, depending on which language you're using. What's your pronunciation? And here we're at the Orthodox Church and Monastery at Capernaum. Father Irenarchos is the Orthodox priest here, and we can once again wish happy Christmas, as the Orthodox are right in the midst of Christmas celebrations. Their calendar is 13 days later than the Gregorian calendar. Their calendar is called the Julian calendar. The Gregorian calendar was a reform to correct some mistakes that were made in the calculations, and there's still a few things that were off, because we had that monk who calculated the years and was a master work, you know, but there's always little mistakes that can be made. And so the adjustment shows that Herod would have died 4 BC, which means then Jesus was born 6 before Christ, more or less. That's the estimate. So I think we're going to have the sun rising right here above the Orthodox monastery. Isn't that beautiful? There could be some nice screenshots here. And then we're right here beside the Franciscan Custody of the Holy Land Capernaum site, and that's where we have that church over Peter's house. I actually never saw it myself from this angle until now, so thank you for bringing me here. And then there's the back of the synagogue, the big wall of the synagogue that we always see from the other side normally. And then some of the features of the synagogue. There's the entrance. Wow, we can see the entrance. You see the entrance there in the center of the screen? It's very imposing. We're just seeing the top part of it and the top parts of the columns inside the Capernaum synagogue, which scholarship is now tending to say, oh, there comes the sunrise. Oops. Scholarship is tending to say that this is actually a very interesting development about this Capernaum synagogue, that it was probably built by a Judeo-Christian community to cater for the pilgrimages, and that's deduced from the history of the artistic development and architectural development that parallels that of the ancient Byzantine basilica there. So that's what the scholars are telling us. The theory has been out for a while, but there was new life given to it by Rina Talgam, who's the expert on Magdala, and she presented a wonderful treatment of that. So this is a very nice shot. I want to send a nice screenshot from here to Father Irenarchos today, with the sun rising over the Orthodox Church here at Capernaum. Isn't that beautiful? And that's the monastery there to the left with the blue shutters. And we can see actually this church of the Orthodox Church from the sanctuary at Magdala, and also from the outside. Well, no, because that gives us a little more height, so we can see it from there pretty well. So today there's a very strong story in Capernaum, and also a very strong story in Samuel. We continue now getting into these two accounts that we have in the book of Samuel, with Hannah weeping at the temple in Shiloh, crying out her heart to God. How many people come before God weeping, crying out their heart and their needs and their sufferings, interior sufferings, exterior sufferings. Lord, help us. Lord, have mercy on us. And she wants a child so badly. And she goes to God to ask for that grace. How many people go to a spot in their village, their church, probably also of all different faiths, to the synagogue, to the mosque, to pray, to come to a space to encounter God. How many people have come to this shrine here to pray, to ask for God's help in times of need? It's also the motivation for many a pilgrimage. So we will have many stories upcoming now from the synagogue in Capernaum. Let's go for a little bit of walk here, people. It's chilly, so I need to keep the blood circulating, you know. You understand that, right? I want to go out here because the grass is getting very tall. Look at how lush that is. And then it's very wet right now with the morning dew. This is all archaeology, people, all these stones here. We're on the famous Via Maris. That's the property of the Capernaum, the Franciscan Capernaum there, behind that wall. And it's all outside, also filled with archaeology. And where you see this road going by, the traffic, you know, the ancient roads are very often the track where the modern roads are, because they obviously chose the best way to travel, the shortest way, the easiest way. Sometimes our modern roads are much wider and bigger, and they have bulldozers to build them, so they can disregard hills and valleys and hollows with big bridges and so on. Oops! Oops. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't realize you might fall. Are you okay? I just jumped off the wall there and forgot about the impact on the gimbal, that it would dance on me. So let's walk here. We can get down to the water over here. There was no traffic this morning, so it was only about 13-14 minute drive here from Magdala. Sorry about that, just catching the other phone here. This is actually a very nice location. I discovered it more this morning here walking. So this is the entrance to the Orthodox monastery. So there's Iera means sacred, monastery, holy, apostles, apostolorum, Capernaum. So the sacred monastery of the holy apostles. it says here from the, I just made it out now, the Hellenic, the Greek, Orthodox, the patriarchal, Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem, Jerusalemon. Good, remembering the old Greek letters, from the studies. So if we go with Hannah here, she rose after a meal at Shiloh and presented herself before the Lord. That whole idea, to rise up and go and present myself before the Lord. What a powerful thought. What a powerful thought. To rise up, and she presented herself before the Lord. And people do that in myriad of ways. At the time, Eli the priest was sitting on a chair near the doorpost of the Lord's temple. And in her bitterness, Hannah was praying, weeping copiously. There we enter into the heart of so many people. Praying copiously, weeping copiously, praying abundantly, praying from the heart, searching for the words, or crying out tons of words because there's such a passion, such a need for blessing, for help. You hear the birds? They're crying out also. And she promises God that if she's blessed with a child, that she will dedicate the child completely to God. I can't help but thinking of that line in St. John's Gospel, which obviously has a little bit of a different meaning, but the suggestion, not born of human will or the flesh, but of God. And that's obviously referring to the new paschal rebirth through baptism of the believers in Christ. There are lots of texts indicating that. But to be born of God, and even just to refer it to the natural generation of a baby, when parents go and ask God for the blessing of a child. And there we have a great expression that every child is a gift from God. And how many people struggle with issues of fertility, and to go and ask for that blessing. This is the dock in Capernaum, where the boats have brought many of you to get your bus after your ride on the Sea of Galilee. And here we are right now. You can put your finger right in the lake here. Let me put in my finger for you. It's not cold at all, actually. Oops. So there you did another dance, people. Forgive me. But at least you got your finger in the water. Hold on there. Doing too many gymnastics this morning for you guys. Tiberias is straight across from us over there behind those branches. And then further north, Mount Arbel, more or less there, straight across the center of the screen, which is not possible to zero in on now. But you've seen lots of Mount Arbel anyway. It's interesting, you'd wonder where the movement is caused in the water. It comes with a greater, there's no wind at all. So Hannah is calling out to the Lord, don't forget me. If you remember me, that God remembers us is a biblical expression to say that he blessed his people. He remembered them in their need. Eli was watching from a distance and he misjudged her. He said, you're drunk. Stop acting up. You know how easy it is to misjudge people's situation. How easy it is to be critical and to call them out, and the person that's critical is often just revealing their own interior brokenness and weakness. And there were a lot of problems in Eli's own house with his sons. He was watching her mouth, her lips moving. And how long will you make a drunken show of yourself? That's a very strong accusation, humiliating. And she is like that woman, the Syrophoenician woman. And she is able to be so humble. And she says, it isn't that. I am an unhappy woman. I have had neither wine nor liquor. I was only pouring out my troubles to the Lord. And he said, go in peace. May God bless you. May God grant your favor. And then she's blessed with a child. And she calls the child Samuel because God heard her prayer. God listens. God hears. I want to see if I can get one more shot for you of the sun behind the top of the church before signing off. And when Jesus comes to Capernaum, the first thing he does is he throws out an evil spirit from somebody. Sometimes there's a lot of evil lurking in our hearts. Negativity. Maybe a rancor, a bitterness. And a great place to go is prayer. And Hannah gets out her sadness before God. And Jesus kicks out an evil spirit. And he teaches us to pray and deliver us from evil. And there are many different kinds of evils. There are evils we suffer. There are evils we bring upon ourselves. There are evils that others do to us. And then St. Paul reminds us that the battle of life on earth is not just a human battle of earthly powers, but it's also a spiritual battle primarily. And that's the great value of coming out and presenting ourselves before the Lord and asking for these blessings. Let's see before we sign off if we catch a better glimpse of this lined up for you. It's really worthwhile. It's nice to see the sun rising here over the Orthodox Christians as they celebrate Christmas. Yeah, I think this is good. Good location. So people, the time has gone quickly.